Hello, welcome to Lucky Land City. I am your tour guide, Mrs.luck. Today we are visiting the long row of closed down stores where lots of merchants and shopkeepers used to sell their traded goods. If we walk down this way, we will come to a dirt path that will lead us to the house of an old, long-forgotten merchant. He disappeared many years ago and left his huge mansion with no owner. We still keep it here in case he comes back, but I very much doubt that he will, since there is a legend about him. No one knows if it is true or not, but I think it is true. And after I tell the tale, you will too. Probably. Oh, good. There's a bench right here. I will sit and tell you the tale of the greedy merchant. Once upon a time, there lived a merchant in the prosperous town of Alcamoon. He was a greedy man, always looking for more and never being happy with what he had. One fine morning, he was sitting in his house, looking out at the sparkling clear ocean out his window. A sense of calm washing over him as he sat there sipping from a teacup of chamomile tea and listening to his favorite jazz song. Just as he was about to take another sip from the cup of steaming tea, he saw something that just washed up on the sandy beach. Whatever it was glinting like the sun itself, and he wanted to figure out what it was. So he set down the ceramic white cup on its clean saucer and got up from his chair. Brushing off some dust from his pants, he got up and advanced towards the door. His palms touched the cool metal of the doorknob and clasped on, turning it to the right and swinging it open. He raced down the hallways adorned with paintings and decorations until he came to the beautiful mahogany door. Throwing it open, he raced onto the soft sand, not even noticing he was barefooted. Letting the soft sand sink between his old toes, he ran next to the lapping waves of the ocean. Finally, he saw something in the distance. Stopping to catch his breath, he heaved in a big gulp of air and closed the small distance between him and the mysterious object. When he was next to it, he cleared the heap of sand on top of it and gasped at what he saw. The merchant stared at a golden sword festooned with glittering gems of brilliant colors. He was amazed at the sight of this treasure and picked it up, not even noticing how good it fit in his hands. When the merchant held up the sword, a bright beam of yellow light, as bright as the sun, sprung out of the tip of the sword. Out of the beam came a gray cloud. It was smoke, and as the merchant coughed and wheezed, the gray cloud surrounded him like a tornado. Just when the merchant thought he would pass out, the gray clouds cleared, and an old man stepped out, covered in robes. This old man claimed to be a wizard that had given his gift to the ocean, which then brought it to the sand. The merchant was awestruck at this wizard and graciously thanked him. But the merchant was only half listening as the wizard droned on about a prophecy, about a quest, and some stupid prophecy. But when the wizard disappeared into a thick cloud of smoke, the merchant wished he had listened a little closer to the old man. As the merchant walked down the sandy path, retracing his footprints that were slowly fading beneath the tide, he thought about everything the old wizard said, about the sword being a gift and that he knew the merchant would pick it up. Soon the merchant was back in his room, laying down on the soft bed and resting his tired head on a feather-filled pillow. He fell into a deep slumber. He was awoken the next morning by a light knocking on his door. Lifting his sleepy body off his bed, he ran a withered hand through his hair. When he finally got to the door and opened up, he was surprised to see it was his servant. The merchant always had strict orders forbidding any people that were not of high authority to come to his door and disturb him. So when he saw his servant outside, he was very, very angry, and he could feel his face getting red and hot. The merchant yelled at the servant and for not obeying orders. The servant blushed and looked down at her weathered brown boots, her eyes trying to land anywhere but on the merchant. When she explained why she was here, she told the merchant he had to go to town today for business and that his cart was waiting outside. No one had told me, so she had to come to wake him up. The merchant's anger slowly faded into horrible embarrassment. Without saying a thank you to the helpless servant, he closed and locked his door, running to his closet and rummaging through its contents, throwing shirt after shirt from his closet. He finally found the perfect one, unbuttoning his putrid, sweat-covered one from the night before. He buttoned up his fresh one and did the same with a pair of pants. Finally, he slipped on his brown coat and rushed at the door. When he was out of the house, he saw a dark wooden cart attached to a pair of black steeds, standing next to the path to the city. Quickly, he climbed on and pulled on the reins, making the horses start to trot. The roads to the city were very straight, and only a couple right and left turns, so most of the time it was just him and his thoughts that took up the long rides. But his thoughts were very, very different today, because he was thinking about the wizard. But when he saw a small dot in the distance, his thoughts disappeared, and it was just him and the horses, and his cart drew nearer and nearer to the city. Soon enough, the dot became shops, houses, people, and tiny dirt roads carrying many people and horses to their destination. When the merchant neared a busy street, he stopped his horses and set up his cart so it faced many people. You see, this merchant sold books, and in this city, books were very, very rare and very valuable. So as soon as he set up swarms of people crowded his cart, picking up books and trading them for gold coins. As the day drew to a close, all of the merchant's books were sold, and in their place were piles of gold coins. Happy with how business went for the day, the merchant climbed back on his horses and began the journey back home. But before he knew it, something very strange happened. One of his horses stopped moving and collapsed in a heap on the ground. The merchant was very surprised by this and got up and off the cart, going over to the animal. But when he touched the side of the horse's neck, it had no pulse. The horse had died. The merchant was so confused as to how this had happened and was about to get up when a thick cloud of smoke surrounded him, just like the day before. But this time it picked him up, lifting his feet off the ground. The merchant struggled and squirmed, trying desperately to get out of the smoke's tight grip. But it was no use. The great cloud lifted him in the air, and before he knew it, he fell a couple feet down to solid earth. Spitting dirt from his mouth and brushing some off his clothes, he got up and noticed something gleaming by his shoes. When he looked down, he saw it was the golden sword. He did not know how it got there, but he was glad it was, because when he looked up from the sword, he was standing face to face with a dark cave. Looking around him at the thicket of trees, he knew what he had to do. He would have to go into the cave. So he walked into the cave, leaving the sun's light behind him. Before long, he was surrounded by inky black darkness and no light to lead his way. He felt cold and alone, but just when the merchant was thinking to go back, he saw a small light in the distance. Running as fast as he could, the merchant finally reached the source of the light. It was 2 tunnels. One tunnel led to a dark wooden cart led by 2 black steeds. It was the merchant's cart, but in the other tunnel led to something much more tempting to the greedy merchant. It was a pot filled to the brim with diamonds. The merchant, without hesitation, raced to the tunnel leading to the pot of diamonds. But just as the merchant was about to lay his hands on the riches, a deafening roar came from the depths of the tunnel. Then out charged a big, scaly dragon. The dragon bared its teeth and gave another loud roar before running toward the now very frightened merchant. The merchant tried to run out of the cave, but the dragon was too fast for him and quickly scooped him up, placing him in a pot full of boiling water, cooking the merchant alive. And in the merchant's last seconds, he understood what he had did wrong. He had gone for more wealth and more money rather than riding away with his earned riches. He understood that he should have been happy with what he had, and most of all, he understood that he was too greedy. The end. I hope you enjoyed that little legend and will come back next time to have another tour with me, Mrs. Luck. Thanks for listening. Bye!